Welcome back to Studio F. We're on Fast Times with Willy B. We'll be talking about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell, hit it!
Welcome back to Fast Times with Willy B. I'm Willy B, and I've got Kory back. Kory, how are we feeling today?
Tired, but I'm feeling all right. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good because I watched a good movie last night.
Ready to start talking the end of the DCEU, are you?
Yes, actually, I am.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
as a DC fan, yes, I'm ready to talk about the end of the DCEU.
all right, here we go. So today we're here for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Mm-hmm. James Wan's latest movie. Obviously, we all know James Wan's got himself a resume.
Sure.
First two Conjurings, first two Insidious, Dead Silence, one of my favorites of his. Fast 7, which is one of the better Fasts.
Sure, absolutely.
Saw, the first Aquaman. The list goes on and on. James Wan has made a name for himself.
Absolutely. Even as a
cinema.
producer, the things he's produced is also phenomenal.
For sure. Obviously, we know the cast. It's mostly the same cast as the first movie. Jason Momoa's Aquaman, Patrick Wilson's Orm, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II returns as Black Manta.
Sure.
Not often you see a villain return in two movies, in superhero movies.
No, absolutely not. They usually die or go to prison at the end of the first.
I mean, the only one I could think of is like Loki, and that's because he kind of somewhat becomes a hero. But
yeah, sure, absolutely.
Nicole Kidman's back. Dolph Lundgren. Randall Park is now in this one.
That's true.
The newcomer, Randall Park. And you always love seeing Randall Park.
I mean, he was in Aquaman 1. It was just he was in like 2 scenes.
Yeah.
Literally 2 scenes.
Has a much bigger role in this one.
Absolutely. We have Tamara Morrison himself.
Yeah.
The Django Fett as Tom the Lighthouse Keeper.
Yeah, yeah. So, we know the names. We know what they can do.
But did they do it?
Let's hop into the good. We'll start with the good.
Okay.
For me, there's not a lot. There's not a lot of good.
All right.
I loved the shark bikes.
I've heard that, actually.
We'll start with I loved the shark bikes.
Okay.
The mechanical. I need one.
Yeah. I think you would look terrific on one of those.
We're looking into next year
for
Christmas. Remember that, shark bikes.
Okay. At the very least, I can get you an inflatable shark for in the pool, which I would die to see a picture of you on, by the way.
I'll take that. I loved Steppenwolf.
Yes, not the character from Zack Snyder's Justice League, the band Steppenwolf.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of Steppenwolf in this movie.
Yeah, we did. Sure did.
I loved the Loki and Azkaban quote, where you got Aquaman and Orm walking through the woods, kind of bickering, and Aquaman goes, "All right, Loki, I'll just send you back to Azkaban." That was the best line of the movie, in my opinion.
Okay.
What do you got?
For good?
Yep.
You'll see my list is a bit more extensive than yours. First things first, I thought it was directed terrifically. I still love James Wan's direction in it. Truthfully, I think in an age of a lot of generic superhero movies, which, by the way, I'm not above. I liked the movie. It's going to be fairly obvious. I liked it a good bit. I had a good time with it. It got a cut above because it does some different things. I think visually, that underwater sea thing, I would rather look at Atlantis than Wakanda, honestly. I think Wakanda looks terrific. I don't know about that.
I was gonna say,
I don't know. Wakanda's pretty dope, but it's still it's on par with, especially in that. I think this one they even brought it a step up with some of the design that they did. So I like the designs of things like the shark bikes and like the seahorses that they ride and like even the King of the Crab, that version of the sea. He's got he's got a really funny design where he kind of looks like Mr. Krabs or whatever, and he's got this like hard exterior like shell mask that comes down. I think those things are interesting and cool. I actually like the look of the whole Necros Kingdom situation.
I thought Necros was cool. I thought that was a cool concept. I just was underwhelmed with how much we got of it. Sure.
Well, I saw that coming because Black Manta is Aquaman's. That's his arch nemesis. Yeah. Ocean Master's up there for Aquaman, but really it's between those two, obviously. But I like the underwater ice kingdom idea. I think that's because especially in the first one, we already got the Kingdom of the Trench, right?
Yeah.
Where we have that really cool shot of Aquaman diving deep, and you're getting the horror swarm kind of thing. So I think this like green ice cavey kind of idea. I mean, I thought that was a really cool idea. I also like the designs of a lot of the weird octopus ship things that they had that kind of had the...
Those were cool. They felt very Doc Ock to me, but still obviously stood alone because there's not a human controlling the arms.
Exactly. And
those are cool. I think I will agree with that.
Funny to also be like they're controlled by like 6 red levers that only go back and forth. It's like, how the fuck are they like flying up and spinning in circles and they're grabbing things and with like 6 levers?
When I saw that, that's where one of my issues came is, how in the hell did King Nereus learn how to move it so quick?
Yes.
He hopped in and he was... I'm like, I know I'm no king of any part of the sea, but if I hopped into that, I'm tripping like immediately.
And it's funny because he's also like, he's scooping people up along the way. He's like throwing them in the back of the thing, and it's like, dude, how do you even know how to move that thing?
So that was one of the the design I'll give you was a great design. But
I thought it was cool.
I thought it was funny. I was like, okay, that's a push.
Yeah, fair. I think, as always, Jason Momoa is very charismatic. This also goes into some of the meh to even a little bad. There is slightly too much Jason Momoa in this role.
Okay.
I think he's a lot more tame in Justice League and Aquaman because obviously he hasn't established himself as, I'm going to do whatever I want. But it seems like Jason Momoa hit that star power of kind of like The Rock, where it's like he's going to make his own decisions. And also, he's also a producer on this film, which I think certain aspects where he's doing his goofy fun thing, I think it works sometimes, and I think sometimes, and we'll get into this later, the end of the movie, I did not like the very end of the movie. So, but with that being said, he's still charismatic, he's still really entertaining, and also
he's a good actor.
He's a good actor,
yeah.
And he actually had 2 scenes where he dropped a tear and was emotional, and I actually thought he did pretty good. I've never seen him do that before.
For sure, I should add to the good. All but one performance was good. I'll give you that.
Sure.
I don't think the writing was that great, so I didn't think anybody really had that much to work with.
Sure.
But with what was there, I thought Patrick Wilson was great. I thought Jason Momoa was great. There was only one bad performance, and that was Amber Heard. I thought she was awful, and we'll get into that. But
yes, we will.
Everybody else, Dolph Lundgren was good. Just Randall Park, I said. Yep, he was good. Okay. The performances were good. There just wasn't a lot to work with. And I'm going to rebuttal your good on the James Wan and the director. I was kind of surprised he was okay with putting something this uninspiring out with his name on it.
This was something I was going to wait to say later. So there was very obviously a decent amount of studio interference with this movie, actually, which did affect it. Which I think there is a certain level of where one creator is not always a good idea. Sometimes you do need somebody else to temper things. I think with Zack Snyder, Christopher Nolan actually produced Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, and Justice League. So I think he brought some of those Zack Snyderisms down a step because he's a little extreme sometimes.
Yeah.
And but in this scenario, it seemed like, and also James Wan has kind of alluded to I had fun making it, but I think I'm ready to do something else, which when a star says that, it usually means they got exhausted by a studio.
Yeah.
Same thing with Chris Hemsworth playing Thor. Before Love and Thunder, he said he'll play it as long as we'll have him. After Love and Thunder, he's like, yeah, if I do it again, something needs to change. I'm kind of sick of doing it this way. So it's, obviously they've grown tired of that. So I think that is a factor in why things turned out the way they did. But as far as things go, and again, I liked all the performances. I liked Patrick Wilson and Jason Momoa together. I actually liked seeing them kind of work out this dynamic of hate when one's trying to push the other way, when the other's trying to grow closer. I actually found myself at the end kind of rooting for Orm quite a bit. I was actually kind of glad to see him do a turnaround, which I saw coming. Yeah. But on top of that, I loved the action. Actually, okay. I thought there was the first fight scene between Aquaman and Black Manta, or the first two, because there's one where they're both, or maybe it is the first one. I can't remember, but there is a fight. No, the first two. Sorry, you're good. There's the one where they're underwater where he tries to kill Mara. Okay, and I thought it was brief, but it was cool. And then the second time where they fight in the volcano as everything's blowing up and going to shit. There was some really cool action from Black Manta, taking on both Aquaman and Ocean Master at the same time. I thought there was I was kind of taken aback for a second at how much I liked it. So I liked all the action. I also thought there were a lot of great shots in this. Cinematography, CGI wasn't great. No. We'll get to that later, but as far as like the actual things that were shot on location, there were a lot of good shots. There's a shot where Orm's, after he's been dehydrated and kind of, dried out and whatnot, he goes underwater and he comes out and he's stronger than ever. And there's just a really cool shot of him standing in the sunlight on this beach, and it really struck me. So I liked a lot of the cinematography in it. And also, I have to throw this out there because it will become apparent later. I am a massive Black Manta fan. He is top 3 villains for me.
In DC or comic book movies in general?
In general.
Okay.
I'm actually I have a Black Manta statue in my room.
I know you're a Black Manta fan. I just didn't know you loved him that much to where like.
I do. I have comics specifically on some Black Manta runs. I'm a huge fan. So, and I also love Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. He's also one of my favorite actors of all time. He's literally top 5. Yeah. So you put those two things together in James Wan's direction, I'm gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a lot of the good for me right there.
Anything else you want to add? Because I'm cool with moving on.
Sure. Oh wait, also, and we do disagree on this, but I like the score. Done by Rupert Gregson Williams. I'm a big fan. Or is it Harry Gregson Williams? I'm pretty sure it's Rupert. They're 2 brothers. Anyway. But I love the score from the first one. I listen to it all the time. I felt a lot of reoccurring themes come back. The theme for Black Manta, Orn, Aquaman. Themes returned. A lot of soundtracks I recognize. They even did the kind of, I don't want to say the Danny Elfman thing, but I recognize it from him most. He recycles a lot of scores. He doesn't even, sometimes if it fits the scene, he doesn't even tweak it. Yeah. He just throws it right back in. And I notice a lot of problems with superheroes in modern day is a lot of superheroes don't have specific themes you can recognize. Mm-hmm. The ones that you can recognize are the ones that return. Yeah. So it was nice to hear those themes kind of make a return. So
that's a good segue into the meh. Mm-hmm. I'll throw the score in the meh because there was a lot of good. Okay. But there was just one that I thought was so bad that I just can't say that the score overall was good. Uh-huh. Like I said, I love Steppenwolf. Uh-huh. But the music for me was hit or miss, and there was one that missed bad for me. As far as the meh, I thought the introduction was a little weak. Mm-hmm. Not where we see Aquaman and his kid. Like, that was fine. Yeah. But Black Manta finding the Black Trident, I thought could have just been more climatic. Mm-hmm. I thought it was very anticlimactic.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like.
Oh, yes. You know what? I think I know what you mean by that, and I think I agree. Yeah. Where I thought it was cool that it was in this ice cave and that there was a monster and they had to go down there, whatever. But what I didn't like is that he just falls on the ground and looks up and is like, oh, fuck, there's a trident in the sand. Yeah. I forgot about that. That, when I watched the movie, I was like, that is kind of weird that it's just sitting there. And also both pieces are just sitting right next to each other.
Yeah. It would have been cool if maybe he found a half. And so a little bit of the journey was trying to find the other half.
Yeah, sure.
Just for me, I was like, well, that was easy.
That probably would have been better, like, as far as rising action too, is maybe he has half the trident at first. Yeah. And that's whenever he sees the visions and it's like, find the other half of the trident, break me out. And it's, Black Manta's kind of strong. The first time he fights Aquaman, almost kills Mera. But he's like, you know what? I'm going to get my ass beat, so I'm going to dip. Yeah. And maybe he gets the second half of the trident, which makes him stronger in the final fight, or maybe that fight where they had in the volcano or whatnot. I agree with that.
The other meh I have is the whales banding together to make whale noises to the point that a ship explodes.
The sonic shockwave, the reverse sonic shockwave.
I'm just like, a lot of people got upset with the ants taking over Kang and Quantumania, which I get. It was somewhat cheesy. This was the same thing for me.
That's true, but at least at this, it wasn't carrying away the main villain of the movie. It was just taking down, hey, before we fight this main villain, there's a big-ass sonic cannon we got to get rid of. And you use, Aquaman uses his powers to get rid of a big weapon. I can get with that. Now, if it was Black Manta standing on a beach with a sword out and a shark jumps out of the water and bites his head off, that would have pissed me off.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I get it. I do get that.
The rest of what I have to talk about is in the bad. So, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
In the meh? Yeah. As far as meh goes, I really like Tamara Morrison. I think his relationship with Arthur in the first movie is terrific. Often you don't get to see superheroes spend time with their parents. Yeah. Now, with that being said, I'm putting it in meh, not bad, because he does get to spend more time with his mom, and you get to see that dynamic.
Yeah.
That I understand, but also, why are they not spending that much time together?
Yeah.
You get one scene of Tamara Morrison and Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
They were a huge, huge, huge point of the first movie.
Yeah.
Is that love story.
For sure.
I for sure would have liked to see at least one more scene of maybe just all of them together.
Yeah.
The entire family. As far as Meg goes, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of meh stuff for me. I guess there were some jokes that were pretty meh. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Some pretty meh comedy. There were some good ones, but I mean, for the most part, it wasn't ball bustingly funny.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So let's go to the bad. And this is where I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. You just rebuttal.
Okay.
You let me know what you think, all right?
Okay.
CGI. CGI was horrible. In a lot of places.
Agree.
In a lot of places.
I think in a lot of places, though, actually, I would move that to Matt because there were a few shots where they had CGI, like again, I talked about this. Whenever they go to this little black market town,
yeah,
all the sea creatures in that actually looked pretty terrific. There's two big shark guards next to both of them.
That I'll give you that.
They looked very, very good.
Those were sweet. I'll give you that. My point on this is mainly...
But there was some bad CGI.
I'm not backing up what Marvel has been putting out because it's definitely been subpar compared to what we've gotten for a decade and a half. Mm-hmm. But the last few movies have gotten really bad rap for CGI, and I thought Aquaman, this movie, had worse CGI than any of them.
In some scenes it did. I'll agree with that. There was specifically a scene that I've been holding on to this for a while. There's a scene where everybody's getting their weapons as they're about to go into that final fight against Black Manta and potentially even Necros, which we'll get into in a second. But there's a part where there's an entirely CGI Aquaman, Ocean Master, and King Nereus. Mm-hmm. Like, their entire bodies were CG. It was an entire CG scene.
It was like H2O.
And it was, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But just on an entire body. And I was like, why? Maybe you didn't have time for reshoots, but there's no way because, and that's another thing we should talk about. This movie had reshoots up until like a month or two ago.
Yeah, because delays.
They had multiple reshoots because the test audiences weren't reacting very well. Yeah. And then we had some delays, stuff with that. So that kind of gave them an opportunity to, kind of sneak in some, to not sneak in some, but yeah, all in all, this is a movie that they probably should have waited a little longer to maybe finalize up some CGI and things like that.
The scene that really stuck out to me when CGI was actually at the beginning when Aquaman is fighting those bandits on the carrier.
The boat. Mm-hmm.
When it zooms out and you see the carrier in the ocean, it literally looks like you're watching a cartoon or a video game.
See, what's weird though is when I watched that, I actually had the opposite reaction. I went, actually, that boat looks pretty good. Like, I went out of my way in my head.
Not the boat.
Oh, what looks...
The water looked horrible.
Oh, I didn't really pay attention to the water.
Dude, the water literally looked like they had just a boat going through a video game ocean. It was bad.
Okay.
That's going to be... I'm going to use the word video game a lot in the bad. That's what the CGI just kind of reminded me of. That I was watching Injustice.
It was
not saying Justice looks bad. For a video game, Injustice looks great. For a movie,
Injustice 2 looks great.
If you make a movie that looks like Injustice, you're gonna be pissed.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what this movie looked a lot like for me.
There's definitely it's hard for me to really, really, really shit on the VFX because have you seen 2017's Justice League?
Yeah,
that movie looks actually horrible. Horrible. It looks better than the Expendables 4. That's horrible CGI.
You talk about the worst movie of the year.
God,
so
easily.
far.
But that scene on the boat, that's another shot that I couldn't remember exactly what cinematography shots that there was like whenever he's fighting all those dudes in the rain and there's flashes of lightning and stuff, there's some pretty good looking stuff in there. But yes, CGI wise, there are definitely some shoddy parts. There are some giant bugs and rats and stuff that didn't look great, but they didn't look... I've seen worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, that particular scene where... And then I forgot about this. So you know the part where they're climbing up to that bridge from out of the water? There's a scene where everybody... Like they have the actual actors climbing stuff and it looks kind of fine. And then they cut to a wide shot of Aquaman and Mera whenever they jump over the bridge and start running. And they looked pretty terrible there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I think a lot of this is a result. I mean, usually when you get bad effects in like a blockbuster movie like this, usually it's a result of often time and money that's not given properly, and a lack of resources that are needed. And again, most of the time, it's usually just time. They're not given enough time to, because they bring in the best of these guys. Some of these guys probably worked on Avengers, Endgame, and they made Thanos look like what he was, and they weren't given the proper time here. But that's fair.
So we'll keep going with the bad. Amber Heard was horrible.
See, I was going to bring this is another thing I want to talk about. So yes, she was.
She wasn't good in the first movie either.
I don't think she's ever. I haven't seen a good performance out of her.
I think
truthfully,
she got the role because of who she was with.
Potentially, yes.
And the second movie, obviously, the Elon Musk stuff.
Yes, apparently Elon Musk threatened Warner Brothers somehow and said, if you don't put her in this movie, I forget what he said he was going to do. But the thing is, they wanted to drop her before the Johnny Depp trial.
Yeah.
They wanted to drop her before that
she's
because
not good.
Well, they also said that in general, her and Jason Momoa just have no chemistry. Which, to be honest,
I felt that.
I think in that first movie, I think there are good scenes of them two together, but I think it's carried by writing and direction and things like that, other than the actual chemistry. But I don't feel any chemistry between those two either.
No. I thought her acting was bad, and then all she did in this movie was come out of nowhere and use the same ability to make the movie go on longer. And I also was upset because, she almost gets killed by Manta, and then the next scene, all of her battle scars are gone.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Burnt to a crisp from her below her chest to her neck.
She
just comes back clear chested, cleavage, and I'm like, what happened to the burns?
Boy, they really emphasized that cleavage in that suit.
They did.
I could not help but notice that. It was a bit distracting.
Yeah,
it pissed me off because they would cut from her to Nicole Kidman. It's like, she has a regular fucking suit.
Anytime Mara was on screen, there was something wrong.
I think they put her in as minimally as possible, which I'm not mad at. No. And not even just because the Amber Heard.
If she was in there more, I'd been even more mad.
Everybody wants to hate Amber Heard. I don't like her. I think she sucks. But it's beyond that. I just don't like that character. I don't think she's a good actor. I don't
think she's a good actress.
I don't care to see. I think, truthfully, she got this far because she's pretty. And she's an okay actor.
Yeah.
And then she ended up being with Elon Musk and Johnny Depp and James Franco and all these, and it just carried her on.
Yeah.
Because this is a business, whether you like it or not, that is carried on by you knowing somebody. Yeah. That's the entire business.
Don't Worry, Darling is the first thing that pops in my mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Carrying on. Slow motion. There was a couple scenes with slow motion effect that I didn't like.
There was one I didn't like.
With the sun getting taken and Aquaman reacts in slow motion. I don't know.
I wouldn't have minded it if it was in proper slow motion, but it was low frame rate slow motion, which I haven't seen cringy shit like that since Hulk 2003. Because, now we have cameras that can properly, take 1,000 pictures in a second, which, gives it a very fluid slow. That was not fluid. That was weird.
Yeah.
That was super weird.
Now to the part where you're going to get upset with me.
Yeah, let's talk about it because I think
Black Manta.
Okay, what about it?
I thought Black Manta was at his best when he wasn't in the suit. When he was in the suit, I thought I was watching Zurg from Buzz Lightyear or a Power Rangers movie.
Why do you mean the design of his suit?
The design, the voice, the choreography.
I loved everything about
Aquaman. I felt like I was watching Turbo Man, long lost
everything about that. I think, Aquaman in the first one, I got complaints about that because he's in a big metal armor. He has the big metal helmet, but all in all, he's a man who spends his time fucking underwater. He needs a wetsuit, which I liked.
No, I get
the wetsuit combination, and also it's incredibly accurate. That suit. I think it looks amazing. I was looking at buying a figure of that today. I love that.
You do that. I won't.
It doesn't mean, you can't not like it because my roommate, Ben, also hates Black Manta. He hates that design. He hates everything about it.
I just felt like I was watching.
Thinks the helmet's stupid.
Every time he was in a suit, I thought I was watching the Power Rangers or I was watching Buzz Lightyear and Zurg go at it in the elevator.
Oh, man. I loved it. I loved and whenever he's out of the suit, I liked the green eye effect. I think Abdul-Mateen II, I think he was actually kind of threatening.
Yeah.
But whenever he's in that suit, I love that black trident look on him with the green, and also like they really threw in. Like he really used that jetpack to his full ability, and also I like that his minions were like it's what happens in the comics, and I love whenever they do this. The minions are always a shittier looking version of the main villain.
Yeah.
I love the Batman. My one complaint about that, his minions at the end, they should have been crappier versions of what his suit is, so you know who's minions versus who's and they were just wearing. What are those big helmet things that they wear? Like scuba diving?
Yeah.
What are those called? I can't remember. But like a scuba suit, basically.
Yeah.
But, oh man, I can't believe that. I loved everything about that. I love the voice. The voice is accurate. Oh my God, man.
And then to carry on with Black Manta, the final fight between Aquaman and Black Manta, this is where I hated the score. The score felt very Street Fighter-esque, and it felt like I was watching an Injustice video game. That's how bad the CGI looked. You said you liked the action. I thought the choreography for fight scenes was awful the entire film.
The entire movie?
For the most part.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, whenever this comes out on Max.
Not awful. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Bad. Not awful, just subpar.
I didn't feel that. I really liked the action in this movie a lot, actually.
I think this was a much better movie than Meg 2. I thought Meg 2 had better choreography.
Oh, God, no. I can't get behind that.
I thought Jason Statham was...
No shot.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that beginning action scene was kind of cool. Other than that, though, I didn't think the action was anything in that. I thought Black Manta's action sequences were actually quite terrific.
I thought the movie was very uninspiring.
He's doing, like, flip kick jetpack, grab somebody with the harpoon and, throw a trident at somebody. That
I thought
stuff's
the writing
awesome.
was lazy. I thought the effects were lazy. I almost fell asleep.
The effects
I checked my phone 38 times.
The effects as in the CGI?
Yeah.
I don't think that's lazy. I think that's well, I guess lazy on the studio.
To me, it almost just felt
not by the artist, though.
Yeah, to me, it just felt like, all right, the DCU's over. Let's just put this together and ship it out.
Well, I think for the most part, they did have a little bit of that mindset for it. Because, again, it is the end of the DCEU. At the same time, the first Aquaman did so well. I feel like they should have really put more into this. The first Aquaman made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't put the proper amount of time and effort into this one. And again, I'm not trying to be a dick. I love Jason Momoa. I think he's an awesome guy. And I cannot wait to see him as Lobo in the DCU because it's been hinted around enough. That's all he's ever said he wants to do. Yeah. He's obviously going to be Lobo. I can't wait to see him do that. I think he's perfect for that. I even think he's perfect for Aquaman when he's not allowed to just do Jason Momoa all the time.
Yeah.
In the first Aquaman is a very serious character. Mm-hmm. And I know like Thor is a serious character and they made him funny to be more relatable, which it worked. And for Aquaman, it worked in a way too, but there was a balance there. And it seems like we did lose some of that balance here.
Yeah.
Where again, he's just dicking around just a little too much. Mm-hmm. There are scenes where Black Manta's about to kill Mera or where he's about to kill his son. And he shows up and he starts throwing and he's pissed. And I think it's terrific. And the next thing you know, he's just, making fart jokes and talking about fucking cheeseburgers.
Yeah. My last bad, because I can go on and on, there was a lot that I was upset with. Mm-hmm. Nothing that I hated. Hate's a strong word. I didn't think this movie was as bad as Blue Beetle. Mm-hmm. And we all know it's close for me. I think Blue Beetle might be the worst superhero movie I've ever watched. And I haven't seen every superhero movie.
It's up there.
I haven't seen every superhero movie. I haven't seen, what is it, Steel with Shaq?
Oh, yeah.
But as far as what I've seen, which is just about, I've seen all of the MCU. Mm-hmm. I've seen just about I think I've seen all of the DCEU.
Still missing the Suicide Squad, which is probably the best movie in the DCEU, funnily enough.
I've seen every Batman movie. Blue Beetle was the worst. This is second. I liked Morbius more than this, but...
Whoa, that's crossing some fucking lines, man.
My last major point in the bad category is the villains were easily defeatable.
Okay, so here's what I've been wanting to say, because you did say that. I saw you write that.
They took the trident, and then Black Manta was a bitch.
That's true, but they also go out of the way to say, because that is the truth. Black Manta does need a more powered up
Yeah.
He's no match for Aquaman because they're attuned to being in the deep sea or whatever. That makes them, when they're out on land, incredibly strong and whatnot.
And then we get the leader of Necros for 38 seconds. And I was actually kind of like, oh, here we go.
Well, I knew that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, that pissed me off.
But again, that's because the movie isn't about that, though.
It should have been.
It could have been better. I don't think so. I think the revenge story with Black Manta is way more interesting. Because there's emotional stakes in the actual characters. And that's so true to Black Manta's character too, because fun fact, in the comics, Black Manta thought he killed Aquaman and he retired from being Black Manta, moved to a little village, became like a butcher, work at a butcher shop, and he was the happiest guy in the world, loved his customers, loved the people he worked with. Found out Aquaman was alive through like a TV or the news or somebody talked about it.
Yeah.
Immediately flipped a switch, killed everybody that he worked with, everybody in that village, everybody in that, anybody that he crossed his path, he just killed out of frustration and just went right back to being a petty bitch, which is what he is. And I actually loved in this movie, even though I loved seeing him, and obviously I didn't want to see him die, but whenever Aquaman offers his hand as a way of redemption, because he created Black Manta by not saving his father.
Yeah.
So he tried to right that wrong, and I was like, God, they're going to try to redeem both Ocean Master and Black Manta in the same movie. I cannot get behind that for Black Manta's character. Most accurate thing I can think of is him saying "fuck you" and dropping into like a bottomless pit and killing himself.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And again, he needed the Atlantean steel in that first suit, which is why he was, why he didn't need, the trident to be as powerful as he was. So I get that. But I just, in a way, yes, Black Manta really has never really beat Aquaman like that. So I honestly, I kind of like that there was 3 different times where Black Manta got his ass beat and he had to just dip.
Yeah, and then I wanted to see more of Necros, but that's it for me for the baddest. I don't think there's anything you want to add because I've basically covered anything that you would semi-agree with.
Potentially agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, and again, I have a little bit of a personal bias. I'm not beyond that. I love the first Aquaman. I didn't expect to like that movie.
I enjoyed the first Aquaman a lot.
I thought I couldn't believe they were making an Aquaman movie. I didn't know what to even expect, but I enjoyed it a lot. And everybody in this I like. Again, Black Manta. I am a and this is really the first movie's really just setting him up to be who he was going to be in this film. And I honestly wasn't let down by that.
Yeah.
At all. I think he's lean, mean, he's green in the eyes. And I just wasn't let down by those aspects at all. Sure. And some of the heart stuff with Orm and Arthur just kind of worked for me. And again, this doesn't work for everybody. Anybody that has complaints and says they don't like this movie, I'm not going to rebuttal that. What right do I even have to? I get it. But for me, it just, it was a bunch of weird Atlantean aqua shit. And I had a fun time.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. I didn't have a great time. I had a very fun time.
Okay. I didn't. Let's hop into the final thoughts and ratings. Final thoughts. This made Ant-Man Quantumania a masterpiece. I'm just saying. I like Ant-Man Quantumania more than most. I'm not saying it's a great movie by any means, but I've seen several reviews on Letterboxd. I thought leaving the theater, this movie made Marvel's worst movies look a lot better.
Right.
I thought it took a lot of the worst from Quantumania and Thor: Love and Thunder and put it in its movie. But your final thoughts, your rating out of 10 for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
My final thoughts is that I disagree with that.
Okay.
First of all, I also think people like to hate on Quantumania a little too much.
Yeah.
I think the complaints I have about that movie are very, very fair. I think that was a sore misstep. And I also think Aquaman was a misstep. I think they're about on par. I think for me, this just has more personal investment is probably what it is, just personal investment. But at the same time, when I think of like Thor: Love and Thunder, though, specifically, that movie feels abysmal to watch, genuinely. And it seems like that's kind of how you felt watching Aquaman.
Yes.
The first time I watched Thor 5, I thought it was okay. And then over time, the hate for that movie just grew for me. I think that's one of the worst superhero movies I've ever seen in my life. I think Aquaman is still better than like the first Captain Marvel, at least. I think it's better than a couple of the Disney Plus shows. It's better than, and I think again, Captain Marvel is just more of a mid-tier movie than, I think
Aquaman's better than Blue Beetle.
I think Aquaman is better than Blue Beetle for sure.
I'll give you that.
I don't think it's that bad. I think Aquaman 2 is better than Wonder Woman 2.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
I liked Everything Everywhere All at Once more than Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
That's so strange. I feel like I want to give it to you there, I guess.
Well, you do too.
I don't like it more than Everything Everywhere at Once.
No, you like Everything Everywhere All at Once more than Aquaman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but there's a lot of movies that I like better.
I'm saying I like Everything Everywhere All at Once more.
Yeah. I agree with that, but that's because there's not a lot of movies that I like more than Everything Everywhere at Once. That's got to be top 30 movies for me. But anyway, I know I'm going on and on and on, but there are some things that I get are very nitpicky with this movie.
Yeah.
But just all in all, it just seemed like a fun romp, and it felt like it kind of understood at times what it was doing. Sometimes it didn't. Again, the ending where Aquaman's like, "I'm fucking Aquaman," and here's Steppenwolf. I did not like that.
Yeah.
The post-credit scene was also a massive piece of shit.
I loved Steppenwolf because it was fun, but it also felt a lot like Thor: Love and Thunder when Steppenwolf played and he was Aquaman. There's a lot of comparisons between those two. I could see.
Sure, I can.
And I get what you're saying with the emotional attachment, because I think that's why I like Love and Thunder more than I like this movie. Is I have more of a tie to Marvel than DC. Well, you're more invested into DC, especially Black Man. I mean, that's one of your favorite characters.
Exactly, and also the thing that puts Aquaman above a lot of movies for me, especially in the MCU, is I think it is quite tonally consistent. I think you have to give it that.
First Aquaman or this new one?
Both of them. Okay. I think this one was actually pretty tonally consistent. I don't think it was a lot of. There were times where definitely the jokes kind of outweighed some of the emotional moments, but not really by much. Whenever Black Manta came in and was threatening, I felt threatened. Yeah. Whenever they were doing some lighthearted moments, it's like it's two moments between two brothers. I get it, but they still seem like they have the mission at hand, and there are just so many times in the MCU where it's like, do they even give a shit about what's happening right now? I felt like at least in Aquaman, because of the investment of my child or my wife is gonna die, it felt like it was still always taken seriously, even though he was
take the child over Amber Heard.
It was compensating with humor makes more sense. But anyway, for me, I'm gonna give it a high 6.
High 6, okay. I mean, I said what I said. I was very underwhelmed. I was bored. I almost fell asleep. And I wasn't even tired. It's not one of those, I went to this movie late and, I had a long day. I went right after work in the middle of the day. It was... It was.
I did have a rough week, and I think it helped with that.
It was an early evening showing. I wasn't tired.
Sure.
For me, I'm going to go 4. I landed on a 4. I was between a 3 and a 4. I think it's a peg above Blue Beetle, so I'll give it a 4. I just, like I said, it was super uninspiring, very meh. Pacing was meh. Performances were good, but at what cost? Shark bikes were cool. I'll give you that.
You know what? If you end it with shark bikes are cool, I will be happy.
Shark bikes are cool. That does it for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Thank you, Kory, again, for coming on.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, check out other videos. Hit the subscribe button. Like, comment. Social links in the description below. Hit the follow button. I think Kory somewhat appreciates for me everything you guys do for me.
I'd appreciate if you watched more stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you all for watching, and we will talk to you all soon. Peace.